everyone, this is Kirstine from the Mustard Tree Trust.
Hi everyone, here we are back with our resurrection eggs. We're going to look at a few more today, but we'll just have a bit of a recap on the ones we've already done. So in the first one, in our blue one, do you remember what we found in the first one? Let's open it and see. That's right, it was our donkey. And we met Dave, didn't we? And we learned all about Palm Sunday. Do you remember Palm Sunday, where they waved the big palm leaves and we had our silly story? That was great fun, wasn't it? And the next one, the pink one, had some lines in it. And we talked about how Jesus' friend Judas was really upset because Jesus wasn't quite doing what he wanted him to do. And how he actually took some money from the prison guards so that he could betray Jesus and tell them where Jesus was at that particular time so that they could come and capture him. And then we had our purple egg. And inside our purple egg there was this cup, the little wine cup. And we talked all about communion and what that means when we commune with God, and how we use bread and wine to think about and to remind us of Jesus and what he did for us and why he did it, which is very important. Do you remember?
Because we remember that this is part of God's plan. That's why we remember Jesus' death. Not because it's a nice thing to do or because it upsets us. Because Jesus was willing to do whatever it took to go and pay for what we do wrong. The next one is orange. And in this one, these look a bit odd. Can you see what they are? They're hands. But they're in a strange position. When we put hands together like that, what does it usually mean? It usually means we're praying. Exactly. Now, Jesus, after he'd had this special supper, he went up to one of his favourite places. It was a beautiful garden and it had lots of olive trees on it. And it was called the Mount of Olives because it was like a little hill. But Jesus was really upset because he knew what was about to happen. And he prayed to his Father. And he said, instead of saying our Father in heaven, like we do when we say the Lord's Prayer, he said, Abba, Father. Which means, Dad. Dad. He said, I know you're all powerful. I know you are. Our Father, who is in heaven, holy is your name. And because God's name is holy, Jesus knew what was going to happen. And he said, let this thing not happen. Let this cup pass over me. Let me not go through the next few days. I'm really hurting here, God. Dad, I'm really upset. Even though I know you're all powerful, it's going to be awful. Yet not what I want, but what you want to happen is what I'm praying. I don't want this to happen, but I know it's the only way. If there was another way, God, would you do it, Dad? And yet I know that this is the only way. And I know you have to do this. And I know this is part of your plan. But it hurts. Can you imagine someone praying that for you? Can you imagine somebody so upset about what was about to happen. And yet, he was able to say, I love these people so much. I want them to be my friend. And so I'm prepared to go through with it. And it was pretty awful. And this next one, the green egg, we have a whip. It's made with lots of different bits of string. And as you might be able to see on this one, the string's got knots on the end. You see, Judas did tell the guards where Jesus was. And they came and they took him. And they beat him up. And they said because of all the things he'd done wrong, which he hadn't done anything wrong, but they made up lots of things, he deserved to get whipped. And they whipped him. And it would be awful and painful and scary. But Jesus did it because he knew it was part of God's plan. And in the yellow egg, we have something a bit different. You see what this is? It's a rooster or a cockerel. What noise does a cockerel make? Do you know? It goes cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. Well, that's a strange thing to put in an egg about Easter. It's not old MacDonald. And why does it come after the whip? You see, one of Jesus' best friends was a guy called Peter. Now, Peter, well, he used to think a lot less than he should. He also used to talk before he thought, and he ended up blurting out things that he probably shouldn't have said. And during this special meal, when Jesus was talking about the bread and the wine, Peter said, doesn't matter what anybody else says, I will never ever say that I don't know you. And Jesus said, I think you will, Peter. And Peter was like, don't be daft. I'm never going to say anything. I love you, God. I love you, Jesus. I think you're God's son. Jesus said, okay. But before the cock crows twice, before tomorrow morning, the cock will crow tonight when you go to bed, and it'll crow again in the morning. So before that happens, you're going to tell people that you don't know me. Don't be silly, said Peter. But when the guards came and arrested Jesus, after Jesus was so upset, and they took him away, and they whipped him and hurt him, Peter was frightened. He followed Jesus, which was a brave thing to do. And he went and stood where they'd taken him, which was one of the chief priests, one of the big religious peoples. They took him to his house. A bit like the police station or the law courts, but they didn't have them then. And Peter was scared. And a girl came up to him and said, are you not one of Jesus' friends, that bloke that just brought in? Peter went, oh, no, I'm not one of his friends. Why do you think he did that? I think I would have done that. No, I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't want to be arrested. I don't want to be taken in. I don't want to be beaten up. No, I don't know. And then somebody else said, well, you sound just like him. You've got the same accent as him. Are you sure you're not one of his friends? No, I know. I just talk like this because I am from around there. And then the young girl came back and, are you you sure you're not one of the men who were with Jesus? Because you do look vaguely familiar. And I've seen him around with his friends. And Peter went, no, of course not. And then the sun started to rise. And he heard a noise. And the noise was the cockerel crowing. And Peter realised that he'd done exactly what Jesus had said. He denied knowing him. He said he didn't know Jesus, and he'd done it 3 times. But it was all part of God's plan. Because later, Jesus would use that experience to explain to Peter what to do next. So Jesus was taken and he was given to the soldiers. And the soldiers were, hey, this is this Jesus bloke. Didn't he say he was a king of the Jews? And they dressed him up. And they put a purple robe on him, make him look like a king. And they made a crown out of thorns. Now most kings wear a crown. And when we do challenge the king, we have a crown. But this one wasn't made of gold or precious metal, or even paper like a challenge the king crown. This one was made of thorns. It would have really hurt when they put it on Jesus' head. And if they pushed it down, those thorns would have hurt his head. And they did it to make fun of him. And people still make fun of Jesus today. They pretended he was a king, and they pretended to bow down to him, and they pretended to be nice to him. But they didn't mean it. They mocked him. But Jesus knew he was a king. And by the end of the week, he would have probably proved that he was something special. But for now, he just listened to their mocking, their horrible words. And sometimes that happens to us. Not that people pretend we're a king, but people often say horrible words about us. We don't understand it. But they're just words. We don't have to believe them. We don't have to listen to them. We don't have to worry about them. Because all of this that's happening is because Jesus loves you. So even if somebody in your class says horrible things to you, Jesus loves you. And the last one for today is what happened next. And we've got as far as the Friday of the week. And they took Jesus and they led him up a hill, and they put him to death on a cross. Now if you look carefully, this cross actually is made of nails. And they nailed him to a cross. Now that wasn't anything unusual. That's something the Romans did all the time. When they wanted to get rid of somebody, they didn't have jails like we have today, and they didn't have special injections like people often get killed if they've done something really wrong. In some countries that's still allowed. So they just put them on a cross. And they hurt him. And that's what we remember on Good Friday. It's not good because it was a nice thing to happen. It's good because it was all part of God's plan. It's good because it's all about the way that Jesus paid for all the things we do wrong. It's it's good because, well, we'll find out. We'll find out the end of the story next time.
Well, that was an exciting way to finish, wasn't it? I wonder what's going to happen next. Make sure you come back for the last part of the story, because that's where the real excitement happens. Goodbye for now. See you next time.